You're watching the 5-9 podcast. Welcome. We're back and we're here with an episode. Um, like I said, I've been a little busy. Um, like I say, in order to, I will say, to when I pour out knowledge to my viewers, sometimes you have to take time to pour knowledge back into me so that way I can, you know, take it, digest it, and come to you guys. Um, and yeah, I think taking a break is always good. Um, Everything's been really cool. Um, this episode is called Resilience. And before we get to that, uh, be sure to bring a little business to the show. There's the Cash App if you guys want to make a donation to the organization. If not, sit back and enjoy the show. Um, we appreciate it anyway. Um, well, World War III didn't happen, or at least it's been postponed. The stock market is up. The market is rallying, and so far, now is a really good time to get in. Best time to get in was yesterday, but second best time is today, because I mean, Meta and Amazon, Google, man, it is up. Like it is. I posted, from my Robinhood account, and you know, I'm encouraged to keep going. Um, so yeah, if you guys are out there, definitely drop me a message and let me know how things are going. Um, I saw Ironheart. Uh, I thoroughly was impressed by it. I had very little expectations, but you know, I I'm a little familiar with the character. I wasn't too I didn't really didn't like Wakanda Forever, and I really didn't like the character. The way that character was depicted in that. Um, I really dig how they are doing this. I saw the first three episodes were available. Um, you know, it kind of brought me in. I like sort of the AI components, and that backstory. So no, I think it has a lot of potential. Ryan Coogler is producing, and I can't wait to see where they go with it. I honestly can say. So otherwise, I've been working out and um, kind of just making changes. So I want to talk about resilience. Um, I work in a place where I have to prevent people from self harming themselves. I recently, well, not recently, but last year, I had a very close friend uh, take his own life. Um, and it was kind of, it was, it was surprising. But then when we go back and when I go back and I look at, you know, the clues and, the dark humor, in certain circumstances, and I look at, you know, where my life went versus where his life went. Um, you know, it's it's not a sense of I'm saying that I'm better or that person or but I will say that you know we all have struggles, and how we deal with those struggles is indicative to who we are. Um, you know, in storytelling, you reveal character by taking certain things away from him. Like, Superman, you take away his powers, you see who he is. Batman, you take away his money and his gadgets, you see who he is. Iron Man, we take away his suit, we see who he is. That's a trope that happens in a lot of superhero films. And then when a character finally gets his power, like one of my favorite was Thor. Thor, he has his hammer, and he's able to call his hammer, and he has all these abilities, but in one instance his hammer was taken from him, and he has to re-earn the hammer. um, I think oftentimes in life, we are put in places where whatever advantage we have is taken away or we're blocked. And I feel that that's in a way that's life. I guess life has a sense of testing people, kind of like the Arthurian legend, the what is it, the Lady in the Water, where you would take the sword, but only if you were worthy, or the sword in the stone. You can only pull the sword out of the stone if you're worthy. Um, Oftentimes we're you know uh, I feel like we're tested, you know, and if we fail those tests in life, which I've learned in my 46 years, is that tests tend to get repeated. If you don't, you know, go through a situation and, you know, you don't learn the lessons from that situation, then you end up back in that situation. And I think that, you know, um, as an older person, a more mature person, you see that life has cycles, you know, where, like a video game, if you don't beat the level, you go back to the beginning of the level. You can save or whatever, but you get back and you go repeat certain steps. Um, so let's talk about the film industry. I got into the film industry. To look to, I won't be too long, but to get to the point, I worked really hard to get into the film industry. I went out and got two college degrees. I got a degree in interdisciplinary film studies, in film study. Um, Spent a long time. Spent, I think, I would say, what is it, 6 years in college. I would say, earning those degrees, and then still wanted to work in the film industry, and then I worked on a bunch of small projects. Um, Realized I wasn't getting anywhere in Michigan, so I moved to Los Angeles because that's presumably where all the films are being made, right? So I moved to LA, and what I would say I would spend a long period, I would call it, in the wilderness of trying to establish myself, trying to make connections, doing the social networking thing. Um, Not really getting anywhere, just kind of just surviving. I got a job working at the airport. I got various other jobs, a lot of stuff in between. So I still wasn't, you know, on my pathway to become, like a Ryan Coogler, or Spike Lee, like, all those guys, you know, ended up making their first movie in their 20s, you know. So, you know, I, you know, was in my 30s when I moved to Cali. Um, and then I would say that after a period of, you know, work and eventually learning that, I need to put myself in positions where, you know, the work is happening. So that's why I ended up working, um, security at a movie studio where I could learn and observe and be in sort of the environment and be charged. I would say being recharged is definitely an important part because sometimes I would, admit, when you're doing all this stuff and you're not doing the thing, and you're seeing famous people at the airport who are doing the thing. Like I've, ran into Guillermo del Toro. I've ran into Ti, um, Marilyn Manson, Sir Silverman, Buzz Aldrin. Yes, Buzz Aldrin at the airport. Um, you start to see, you know, you're close to it, but you're still like far from it, you know. And I will say, like, I don't know, I can't hone in on one particular thing that kept me going. Um, but I knew that, you know, there was a lot of opportunity, and that I knew for sure if I stayed in Michigan, where I'm from, I wouldn't have had those same opportunities. I know I would have fallen in the same patterns and stayed around the same people, and you still kind of just, it's nice to dream, but you're still kind of like not doing anything. You're running in place. Um, so flash forward, I was able to, you know, um, go back to school, and through school, I was able to make different connections. And the crazy thing, so I go back to school, I work on, films, and then from there, I'm in the union. I'm doing the Hollywood thing, right? So I'm working on, commercials and music videos and um, television shows. All right, so you're doing the thing. So I'm doing one thing here and I'm doing one thing here. And through no fault of my own, a couple things happen: wildfires, strikes, what else? There's so much stuff that's I lose track. Let's see, we had wildfire, strikes, um, war, uh, you know, um, immigration, the rise of ICE, um, all disruptive to the film industry. And then, of course, the film industry has been leaving Los Angeles, been leaving Los Angeles for years, but now it's really hit the fan where, you know, it's gone and it may never come back. And nobody wants to say that, but it's looking not good right now. I have adapted. I'm pursuing other careers. I got a job. I actually got more than one job, and I am moving forward. Um, and I'm also, self-educating myself. I'm, you know, taking time to work on my own intellectual property, refining my approach and how I do things. Um, so I say, you know, I'm not say, and just I've always been a person, I like education. I used to work in a library when I was in college, and I really enjoyed working that experience working in a library that taught me that, um, you know, all knowledge is useful, and you can never have enough knowledge. You can never have enough expertise or um, education or know how to get the information. That's always a very useful skill, no matter what. The ability to learn how to learn. Um, so, so I say, um, with resilience, um, you know, it's the old phrase of the Chinese phrase of fall down four times, get up five, or get knocked down four times, get out five. Um, you know, uh, or like Rocky, you just, which became a one of my favorite movies. The guy who just, pretty much a bum. He gets knocked down, but just keeps going forward because he feels that he's trying to matter. He's taking all his punishment, but still refuses you know, to fall. He has something to prove, I guess. Um, so I will say, resilience is a thing um, that I feel. I don't know if I have a nice bow to sort of tie this all up, but I will say that um, I think it has to do with what 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 you will accept and not accept in life. And for me personally, I refuse to accept my limitations or the limitations that are presented to me, whether it be, you know, your social position, your race, whatever. I think it's a sort of a form of rebellion. And I think that, um, we should always, follow the beat of our own drums, I would say. So, yeah, so that's about it. So, anybody have any comments, questions, want to add to the pot? I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, so thanks for checking it out. Take care, guys. We'll see you around. Peace.